Fantastic.
Yeah.
So do you
So
want
yeah,
me? I expected to be silent for an hour. I was
not at all.
doing it.
Not at all. No, we are just gonna, you can move around, just stay on camera for me.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, no, seriously, like this is about conversation. It's about just connecting. The way I see these is that portraits are very intimate.
Yeah.
And by communicating and me doing the portrait, like it takes two different parts of my brain, but like we connect in this deep level through this, and that's what I'm like looking
What
forward to.
you're trying to do. And I love it. And I didn't understand what it was. I'm actually going to take just a little bit of video of you explaining this
Oh
to
yeah.
me
Oh yeah.
so that I can also promote it. By the way, I have
Absolutely.
your links of your meetings already.
Oh, cool.
I've spent the whole day working on the new site. I'll share it with you, but you're there. So I
Oh,
want
well, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Mark is over there, and I'm over here with makeup, which is a miracle. And tell me a little bit of what we're doing.
So I'm going to be doing a portrait of you, and the reason for the portraits and the portraits that I do are all about connecting deeply. I've been doing portraits for over 20 years of people, and these connections are what guided me through my sobriety and what guided me to kind of learn about who I am, because as I look at you, I get to experience myself.
Drop the mic. So I'm in for a wild ride. We'll show you later. Yeah, I didn't understand at the beginning when you were a portrait. I was like, a portrait. And then I started seeing like
my portraits.
Portrait. Yeah. I was like, oh, so I was very excited.
Yeah, these are, they're not meant to be flattering.
No.
Right? They're just made.
Yeah.
And a huge part of what these are is that you look at it, and as you respond, you're not responding. I look at my healing work in this as you're not responding to what I've done. You're responding to what you see, and what you see is you, right? But what you see in everything is you.
Yeah.
And so this becomes a thing. And with my one-on-one clients, they can easily say, you made me look like da, da, da. Which is great for me, because then eventually I can come up, okay, so where do you see this in your life? Yeah. And then we start to really break things down.
Oh, so that's super cool.
Yeah.
What a cool way to connect to people. I mean, because obviously we use our words and we try to rationalize our thoughts and the moments and everything, but like I'm a visual storyteller. I do it with electronic medium a little bit like you, right? But the hands-on art, creative process is just something.
And that's my game. That's my game.
Earlier you said, when people ask me about this and, and how you were perhaps trying to explain it.
Right.
A part of me inside screamed, don't fucking explain it. It's yours.
Right.
Like,
but, like it is
generous and you want to make people a part of perhaps a little bit more of an insight or understanding. But I'm a fan of, dude, if it works for you, fucking just
what I mean is explain how this works for you.
Oh,
like for me, I get it. I know, like I don't explain like it's my practice. That's like it is just what I do, and I'm gonna.
Exactly. Yeah. I misunderstood you. I thought you meant you were explaining like how is it healing for you. I guess when.
No, I ain't got to tell nobody nothing.
For me, obviously, I appreciate that you explain your experience with other clients, but just the fact that you're taking the time to just look at like the human vessel that I travel with and trying to put on paper what you see is just so cool. Like, it's just such an honor, that you would take the time to connect with me like this, especially right now when we're so disconnected.
Yeah. you know, I'm glad that we've been able to stay connected, you know,
Yeah.
and I stay connected to people. That's just kind of a thing I do. Like it's real easy for me. I can send out like random text, and on digital we've become buddies and stuff, right? So those are things that I love to do, and I don't just you're right. I don't just ask everybody.
Mm.
You know, there are people, and like I've been doing these on Tuesdays, but I wanted to connect with you to a point where I was just like, I don't care. I want to just do
And I
this.
saw that, and you're like, I don't care. When are we doing it? So I go, oh, it's so cool. And
Yeah.
that's really the thing. I'm getting a lot of really incredible opportunities to explore, you know, doing meetings online or, you know,
Right.
part of a summit or something, but they're doing them during the day. And, you know, for me, I'm like, I wish that at some point I will, I mean, I hope, I look forward to making it happen. Let me manifest it. Where I truly do this full time. But right now, I still, you know, 8 to 5:30. I'm the executive producer for a studio, and virtually,
Right.
it is more work than if I'm at the office. It's less amount of attention and work, and now I'm like in video conferences all the time. So
Right.
so when people are like, will you do this? My first question is, yes, I want to, but what's the time slot? So thank you for
Oh
doing
no, absolutely. Again, we work together. We make
that.
it work.
Yes,
And I'm grateful for your adventureness to,
yes. There you
you know,
go.
explore this.
There you go. You've been doing so many cool interviews with so many amazing
You
people.
know,
You actually
let's
have
just
three
take a
women.
pause. My work is the fucking shit. Like
Yes.
I just want everybody to know what I do. Like I am doing fucking good work.
Yes, you.
Like I'm not like I haven't seen like I was frustrated last week because I was looking at what I'm doing and I'm not like my followership isn't going up and there's a lot of things and I'm just like we're gonna let that go because my work is the shit. Like I
Isn't
am
it?
doing
It
like
really is. And you've managed to connect with such incredible teachers. Like,
yeah,
you know,
and you're one of them.
oh,
Like don't like again, this is why we're here, right? This is why like I there are a number of people that I've interviewed that I'm just like I want them in my life and I you know again staying connected is something that I love to do and you're
yeah.
on that list.
And
So
you do it so well, and it's so, I mean, at least it lands in my heart so beautifully because from the very beginning, you were just so open. And I don't know, I mean, there's a way that you come across, so specifically to me, where it just becomes so honest and beautiful. Like I know that this is a friendship that we can keep for years to come, you know?
absolutely.
So that's important. Like those are the people that you want to make sure that you don't just forget to connect with, you know, and it really is forget because sometimes we just get so busy that it may even not be intentional, but that's where you intentionally have to remember, you know. You've seen a couple of times where I've posted something and you know that I am transparent, obviously, to share the good days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have the responsibility to share the bad days. And I've had a couple of bad days, and you're the first one to send me a message going, hey, bud, how are you doing?
Right.
I love you. Thank you for checking on me. So yeah, but I think you actually managed to back, I think, with, I don't know if you knew this or not, to have exactly the same lineup that was going to be speaking at She Recovers.
I noticed that just happened like
Yeah.
yeah like I was like da, 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 and then she recovers da, 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 it was just like oh what a
Right.
great group. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, that was one of the biggest heartbreaks. Obviously, in the big picture, you can't say that your thing is a difficult one because the world is suffering so much that
Right.
everything, you know, is put under the scope of gratitude. But it was heartbreaking because for the last 9 months, really, it's been a full baby.
Yeah.
I've been preparing to be on stage. Mostly when I say be on stage is because I get to touch hearts, right? And for the first time,
Right.
I got a chance to um, I was going to get the chance to speak in front of a bunch of really, just magnificent women that were going to this adventure of She Recovers. And the big story there is that, it's 2020. And in 2016, after my relapse, one of the very first things, trying to come back from my very long relapse in 2016, it was like 7 a.m. and I came across a little ad for the first She Recovers in New York.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, 7 a.m. when I saw it. By 8 a.m, I was fully booked. I had a plane ticket. I had my conference, purchased, and I didn't really know what the hell I was doing, but I
Right.
no. There were enough teachers in the speaker, roster that I was like, Elena Brower, I'm going.
Right.
Marianne Williamson, I'm going. Cheryl Strayed actually was the following year, but Glennon Doyle was there too. I mean, all of these amazing women that I really wanted to see, Gabby Bernstein. And so I remember 2016 arriving to She Recovers, shaking like a freaking leaf. And I spent probably, I want to say not half, but close to half of the conference time just in my room trying to breathe, because I was so overwhelmed by the teachers, by the people, by my own shame, which I hadn't been able to shake as I was trying to start back on my process. All these conflicting stories of how it needed to be or what it needed to look like, what I needed to be or feel like. And, and the beautiful part of how this journey of recovery like shifts so much in you, as because you're living proof of that, is that, 4 years later, I get the chance to talk to women that perhaps felt just like me, and to say, just 4 years ago, I was sitting in your chair feeling probably like a lot of you guys do. And so to gap that, from the chair to having the opportunity to be speaking is the beautiful journey, right? That's the juju. And to say it's possible, fuck, if I could do it, man, you can too.
Right.
But
not just saying that, like expressing like the hardship that came with it, and like being able to express like everything that you're expressing, like in order to because really, I can do it, you can do it, fuck you, because you don't know me, right? Like, but being like, I can do it, you can do it, this is who I am, and this is how I got here, and I'm still that person back there, right? Like, and there's still hard times.
Oh my gosh! And like when you and I were talking, I mean, you brought this up several times. Like, what are you recovering from today? Because, and that's such a huge subject to always be exploring, because I used to think that when people got sober, all of a sudden their, lives were magically like just sprinkled with fucking tinker dust.
Right.
Nothing happened. And you're like, no, it's the same.
Yeah.
Shit hits the fan. It's just how you react to it. And yeah, there are days that suck. That's why I'm so open really about documenting the days that suck, and then just saying, look, just because this day sucked doesn't mean that I suck, or that my journey sucks, or that everything is going to hell. This just sucks, period. No more narrative to be wrapped around it.
That's it. That's it. It just sucks, and it's okay to suck.
Right.
And it's and we sit in it, and we try and look at it, and we say, how can I love myself through this?
Yeah.
And when I learn how to love myself through this, I'm learning how to love others more.
Yeah.
Like, because they're reflecting me back. Right? Like, and so this whole experience that sucks, that's a part of me that I think sucks.
Right.
And now I get to love myself through that, right? Or try to.
Yeah.
And it may take a couple tries.
What's interesting about this time that we are going through is that you and I have done this before. You and I have, I mean, you've probably seen this written and spelled out so much in our community of recovery and addiction. This is not the first time that we fight an invisible illness that's trying to kill us.
Right.
This is not the first time that we feel isolated and cut off from human contact and everything. And this is not the first time when we don't have an answer as to when the fuck we're going to feel good. Right. And when life returns back to normal, and what does normal look like? I mean, we've been there before.
Right. We're right now watching everybody go, it's going to be the same as it was. And we're like,
and you're like,
you know, it doesn't work that way. Like,
yeah. One of the coaches that She Recovers is a friend of mine, and she said something so wise. She said, I think that the ones that are truly going to be okay through this shit are the people in recovery. It's us, you know? And so for me, and by the way, please don't hear that I'm comparing us with the medical incredible heroes and heroines that are out in the front lines, but they're out there healing people that are struggling with this awful virus. I feel like our job as mentors and teachers and recovered, you know, fill in the blank, whatever the fuck we are recovered from and or recovering from, our job is to help the people that are inside, you know, physically supposedly healthy because they don't have this virus. So that, you know,
right.
But who are struggling rampantly with a different kind of illness, you know, and
they lost their value.
Yeah. And how many people are just dying right now of, you know, addiction being rampant in their lives? I don't have the numbers, babe, but I heard something ridiculous. Like, I think that here in Texas, this one I did hear, 55% increase in alcohol consumption or sales.
But, you know, like, we have to be really cognizant also, and this is something that pops into my mind all the time and scares me, and I've never had to deal with this. Like, well, I have in my family, but I personally have not. Like abuse at home, like people that need to stay home right now. Like, I am so like, this conversation is not being had anywhere, and we're telling people to stay home, but that's not a safe place for everybody.
Yeah. That was my next subject. Child abuse and spousal domestic abuse is also on the rise.
And with people losing their jobs, and with people having to stay home, the stress levels, and it's only like, my fear is it turns into, you know, putting your children into prostitution or sexual assault in the home, and then physical assault and other stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, when you think about it, and think about when when back in the day when we were drinking, and you know, when we were in our addiction, lust in our addiction, I remember losing my shit with my child once or twice. Not in a I'm gonna slap you type of way, but
that's nice. I mean, my mom wasn't a drinker and she was gonna slap me. She slapped me plenty.
That's a different generation.
It is.
My mom too. Okay. But no, like, I remember my son coming to me for a math problem, and I don't remember if I was drunk or I didn't have anything to drink, and I was just anxious and craving, and in that bad, weird place that we get. Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about. And I remember just kind of pushing him to the side, going, "Come on, figure it out." And I felt awful, don't get me wrong, but when you think of that reaction coming from me, and I mean me as any parent can, because we all love our children.
Of course.
So much, but that's just addiction doing addiction, right? It's not people being shitty. It's addiction doing addiction. And, and so if you add that to all of the elements that you just mentioned, the being inside, the, you know, being disconnected, the bad relationships that may exist at the level of partnership if people are in addiction. There is no fucking way that good communication stands a chance, or patience, or kindness, or generosity, or selflessness. I mean,
right, those things are gone
in the same sentence as, you know, addiction. They just aren't. Right. And the poor children are just pray to these parents that are drinking or using pills or whatever the fuck to calm these addictions. So it's so scary. I spent the last 4 weeks every night just with the same hopeful that I was going to finalize my talk and she recovers and then move on to what the fuck am I wearing from stage.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, all right, we don't have time to have a heartbreak here. We are shifting gears. And I've been putting together courses with tools precisely for people to be empowered to do the shit at home. That's why I asked you for, hey, talk to me about your things, because I want to offer a page of free resources. But there's a whole coaching mind shift that needs to come with that, right? Where you get a person to get honest and be fearless and with love and self-compassion, see what their problem is, not shaming and fear, but and then decide to change things. So that's where the coaching comes in. But I'm so grateful that I could add your stuff to the resources.
Me too. Yeah. Like I'm doing this because, again, I do great shit. Like, first off, like, and like my conversation and message is amazing. And I'm not like, I think there's a lot of resources for people that are just starting to get on that journey, but I'm like, there is no resource for people that like, no, I'm good, but how am I going to deal with who I am now? Like, like just because you're good doesn't mean you're done, you know, like, and everybody that I talk to, again, you included, and Laura McCowan and all these people, tomorrow, Nikki Myers, oh my God, yoga 12-step recovery. I don't know if you know anything about her, but she's the shit.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I can't wait to
for tomorrow.
Yeah, actually, in that, was it that? Yeah, twice I've heard her speak live. She was one of the first people that ever introduced me truly to the relationship between codependency and toxic relationships and recovery regarding addiction, like regarding substance. So that was
I like, she's new to me because, like, you know, again, for me, I got, you know, like I got 19 years. I haven't gone to, like, I haven't really kind of been in the world of like new recovery. Like, you know, my recovery.
You're so right. Yeah. When you recovered, the only option was AA.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. And I had not actually been exposed to any of these teachers in the first 5 years that I had of sobriety. My first 5 years, if you remember from our chat, I think I told you the story. My first 5 years were nothing but AA, and that's it. And in fact, I had a huge.
You owned that. You were like, hey.
Anything else was like my way or the highway. I mean, I didn't say it like that, but inside I was a big ass arrogant, you know, if it's not in the big book, then it's just your opinion and I'm going to take it with a grain of salt, but mostly I'm not going to take it.
Right.
And which, you know, I guess it gave me solid foundations to understand the program at a deep, deep level, but that's also super ignorant. I mean, it certainly didn't keep me sober. Because the minute that I stopped going to, you know, my precious like meetings, I lost all my shit.
Right.
And so that's why it was so wonderful an experience to have that deep, deep relapse, upon which, you know, coming back, I was like, I'm not going to do the same story. I'm just not. And that's why when I went to She Recovers and I knew that I had to be there, I didn't know why I was going, other than I was spending a bunch of money and going something that terrified me. I was like, are you sure, Pamela? But I have like this weird instinct of something sometimes like I have to, and it terrifies me and it makes zero sense at many levels, but I have to, and I do. And I've learned to listen to that voice.
That's like your true like inner Mexican just being like, no, go do this shit, girl. Like, you don't know. I got some shit. Like,
yes, cállate y hazlo.
Yeah.
And that's when I actually met Nikki for the first time in that.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
And so that together with, I mean, I met Laura at that conference too. Laura was really offended because I didn't know who she was. And now I laugh because at the time she hadn't written a lot. I mean, she hadn't written a book. She just had written, she had that blog. But I was like, but she was sitting with Elena Brower, who was like my idol, still is. I adore her. She's now become a dear friend, and I'm so grateful for that. But when I was introduced to Laura, and I was like, and you are? And she kind of looked at me like, really? And now that I know who she is and her message, I'm like, she's kind of a badass. Yes.
Yeah.
So she's incredible. But yeah, so this new recovery that you talk about is so fantastic because it's so available to anyone that really just wants it,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's so many beautiful different teachers and
there's so much out there now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, like, I'm so glad to be presenting within that a different message.
Yeah.
Like to be presenting my message within the new world of recovery, and
you do it so well, because the way that you interview and the way that you kind of gear the conversation certainly took me in a different direction that most of the interviews I do,
right,
which is really cool. It talks a lot about your own journey and your insight and what you want to get from people. You know?
Yeah. Like, and what I want and where I want to take people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because like, I may be overstepping my bounds, but after I interview someone, I don't know this for a fact, but they grow.
Oh yeah.
Like, I push my interviewee to places that intuitively I see they're going, and I want to help them get there. And I don't know how I do it. I can't, it's not like I go in going, this is what I want to do. I just see it. And by the time I end my interview, I already know that things are moving in a way that they weren't moving before. Mm-hmm. Right?
Well,
it's kind of, yeah.
You listen. And that's, I mean, like, I struggle with it. I know what I want to say. Sometimes I have to remind myself, like, that's part of my journey. I need to remember to be more present in the other person's conversation sometimes.
Right.
And you do this so well, where you're listening, and you're listening not just for what people are saying, but what they're not saying.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean by that.
Oh, I know that you know. I mean, you did a couple of, little.
Yeah. I never want to move you. I want you to move on your own, but sometimes I want to just go,
hang on.
Yep. just look at that. Yeah. And then I let go, because you can do that.
Right.
You can do the work. And if I feel like if I push, if I do anything, you're just going to double down like most people do. You just be like, no, I'm good. But because I know that's what I would do.
Right.
I just want people to be like, put the seed in, I'll water it, and I'll take care of it. Because you're awesome, right? You all are.
Well, and I think, thank you for saying that. But I think that also, I mean, that's a natural reaction, just a human reaction, where you're like, oh, you backpedal, or you're like, no, I'm good.
Right.
But all of us who are talking about recovery, is just it's such a personal and it's such a vulnerable subject. Mm-hmm. And we had to leave behind so many narratives of, oh God, prejudice, not just the one that we feel from the outside, but the one that we feel upon ourselves and our old beliefs. And I mean, the process of leaving the shame, even just to show up into the world as someone, who can say, I don't drink, or I'm in recovery, or something, that's hard. And that's hard enough to actually kind of go against the flow, even if some of us that come from the 12-step, tradition book as well, oh my God, you're going public with, the whole thing. And to be okay with that. And I'm 100% okay with that, because I understand that I'm doing it, publicly to help others. But I had to kind of come to terms with, this was not supposed to be done like this, per an old story that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can drop that story the way that I can drop 1,000 stories, and I have. But when you are going public with your journey in hopes to teach others, and by the way, not everyone is in it in hopes to teach others. A lot of people still teach or speak or interview from ego. And I think that, you know, and we may all do at certain points. I know that, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, that was a little arrogant, was it? Yeah, but I'm saying it. So I just last night, I said something, I was interviewed for a podcast, and I was like, I just fucking love who I am today. And then I was like, and that sounds like I'm an arrogant bitch, but that's just how I feel about my life because of my recovery, because of, like, I'm not saying, oh, I'm such a cool human being. I'm saying this journey has allowed me to step into the best version of myself. And I'm proud of it, you know, and I can
As you should be. Like,
yeah,
I fucking look at this stuff like, if you're not the coolest person you know,
right,
then you could very easily get manipulated. Like I don't want to learn something because someone else is good at it. I want to learn something because my heart wants to learn it.
right.
Right.
That's with time, baby. You know.
Oh no, I get it. But that's why like I don't like, and because that's my message, I'm not searching for people in early recovery, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not searching like if they get my message, great. But my message is like, people can take my message and utilize it to slip up. Mm. They can. Like you because if you look at my message
here.
Right.
Right.
If you look at my message, because my message is complex, because my message is, if you listen to all 20 some odd episodes that I have, you'll get it. Right. But it is the trudging that we talk about, like, you know, but you can, like, when I talk to, because I do workshops for counselors to gain continuing education units and all this other stuff. Like, when I talk to them, I always have to go back to the hierarchy of needs and say, look, if they're below love and belonging, you better not be talking to them about this.
Yeah.
Because they'll hear this and they're going to feel so overwhelmed, and they could hear this and say, oh, well, you're saying I can do what I want. Well, when you have a clear mind. If you don't have a clear mind, you can't do what you want. You have to listen to the big book. You have to listen to the rules. You need to get information from other people, because you got yourself here, right? Like, as we say, right? Like, you're here, so you haven't done such a great job, right? Like,
yeah, when you're faced with something like that, as your ass is sitting on that hard ass chair in a meeting, you're like, I guess my best ideas really did get me here, huh?
Right, yeah. You know, it's just like, I don't want to stop hanging out with my friends. Well, why don't you listen to us, you dumbass, and stop hanging out with your friends? Because hanging out with your friends obviously got you here.
So, yeah, the best mentors and sponsors even that I had would give me scenarios like that. And that was the thing. Like, was I at a point, just like you're saying, where I could actually take it as an opportunity to really grow, even if it made zero sense to me? Right. That's, even though I laugh about the old versus the new, I'm so grateful for the black and white of my first 5 years.
Yeah.
I needed that.
Yes. Absolutely.
There is no way in fucking hell that I could have done, you know, the multi-layered holistic approach. No, I really needed to have that structure.
Yes.
I got super fucking lucky because my first sponsor, and I adore her so much that at some point she was like, I'm just too damn close to you. I can't sponsor you. And it's true. We outgrew.
So good.
Yeah.
What a good sponsor, right? Too many people are like, we're so close. I'm getting so much out of it. I'm going to continue sponsoring you, and neither of us are going to get any better.
No, and I adore her. And if the shit hits the fan, I know that I can go to her and I can say, I need you, Lisa, my friend's sister, or I need you, Lisa, as a sponsor. Like, get your sponsor hat on.
Right.
And she has that very hard line. But I mean, she was like the big book Nazi, they called her. and it scared the shit.
Buddy.
Yeah. But I mean, even she came to me, which goes against the principles of everything, and looked at me and she goes, you need me. And when I was shaking like a leaf in a meeting, like she didn't wait for me to say, hey, will you sponsor me? Which is so weird because, you know, in an alternate universe, right? Like you don't go to people and say, do you need a sponsor? But she just came to me and she goes, you need me. And I was like, yes, but you terrify me.
Right. Exactly. And she knew that.
And she knew that, but she also just said, okay, I have one question for you. Are you done? And that was the most fucking honest question in my 35 years, because I was 35 at the time, 10 years ago, 10-ish years ago. Anyone had
Raising
ever
yourself. Blah, blah, blah. That's okay. We are like, I appreciate that we're the same age.
Yes, there you go. I'm never shy of telling my age. People are always like, especially women, they're so freaked out.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get it.
Every fucking wrinkle has a story. I'm good with it.
Yes.
And I don't want to be 30, and I don't want to be in my 30s. And I love.
Oh God, no, yeah.
So, you know, but yeah, when I was confronted with that one fucking honest question, the whole thing began. But you're right. Your message could be, in fact, heard differently if it were for a different audience. So, you know, but
yeah, so I'm real, like, I'm cool with where I sit in the world of recovery, and like, because I'm kind of in it, kind of out of it, because I want to expand the conversation of recovery to like, dude, like recovery is like recovering, like, again, I talk about recovering yourself. It's not about what that thing you have to recover from was the last thing that you want. That was the last straw of taking you away from who you were born to be.
Yeah.
You know, and now give yourself 5 to 7 years to get your brain back together. Right? Because you don't know what you're fucking doing. Like, you're still being controlled by the outside. You have beliefs that you haven't even uncovered yet. I don't want to work with you. And I'm sorry, but like, work with Pamela. Work with people that want to fucking deal with your shit, because I kind of don't.
No, don't send them to me. I don't want
them. Well, right, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm so grateful for the fact that there are people like you talking at a different level, because we need everything, you know.
Absolutely.
And like those teachers that you are interviewing, they bring so much value in so many aspects. Like, again, going back to Nikki, I was mind blown, because sitting there at She Recovers, knowing that my thing was alcohol, and I thought at the time that was all I needed to recover from, by the way. I mean, I thought the rest of my life, like, it's great. It's just the drinking that is affecting everything. And as it turns out, my drinking was a big coping mechanism for the, you know, terrible codependence and toxic patterns and relationships that I grew up seeing at home and then emulating in my personal life.
Right.
And so when you realize that, you're like, oh shit. So to hear Nikki speak, you know, about codependency, and I felt like it had nothing to do with what I had gone there to learn. And all of a sudden your curiosity gets piqued. And that's all a good teacher needs to do sometimes.
Praise the Lord. That's it. I ain't gotta teach you shit. You know, I just gotta inspire enough so that you fucking go do it.
Right. I mean, and I say it in a lot of my messages. Look, my job is not to convince you. Not at all.
No.
To share. My job is to ask you the hard questions My job may be to nudge, or like you, in the case of you as a fucking badass interviewer, you know, to kind of say, instead of that.
That sounds a little fishy. I don't know.
With me, you did something like, look, you just said that, but now you say that. So what does that mean? And I was like,
yeah.
But I mean, it's amazing. And again, you know, back to what I was saying earlier, I think that that comes with time, that place of comfort. Yeah. Even if you get challenged, even if you're in an interview,
absolutely,
you know, I hadn't seen it from that side. Like, this is not, if all you're doing is sharing from your ego, and you're really not wanting to either be authentic or teach or reach people, then obviously you're going to get challenged, and you're going to get defensive if people point out something that you may have, you know, said either in discrepancy with yourself, or if they want to dig deeper or something. But when you are truly there to be in a conversation and to grow, then that's where magic happens, right? Because even in an interview, you can all of a sudden see a different aspect of yourself and kind of go, I hadn't seen it like that.
Right.
And so, and that's the growth. And hopefully that even gives your audience a chance to even go down that same, you know, space of possibility instead of space of shaming or judgment or whatever.
Right. So, because yeah. I want, like, it's too easy to like read Laura McCowan's book and think that she's got it all together.
Right.
That's too easy. You know, it's like, oh, well, now she's here. No, she's nowhere. We're all nowhere. We're all just trying to move.
Yeah.
And like, and when, you know, like I interview Laura, I don't want to just let her off the hook to just like, oh, you're great. No, what are you working on? Like, I remember one aspect, I don't know if it got edited out or not, where she was like in her seat and she sunk down. I was like, that's a good question, you know, like, because it made her sort of squirm a bit. And it's like, that's what we want.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't heard the interview. I have a list of interviews that I want to hear.
Yeah.
I have probably like 10. And honestly, I would have probably gotten to it by now, but I've been.
That's fine. I'm not worried about it. I'm not asking you. Like, I don't expect that you have listened to
no, it. But of course I would, because number one, I love you and I love the work that you do. And I also have deep admiration for Laura because I've seen her journey. And she used to have this show and this relationship with Holly. And I also admire Holly, although I don't like her message and I don't have to be vocal about it or write it. But I read Holly's book, and there were so many parts of it that just were hard for me. That's okay. That doesn't mean that they don't help people. That doesn't mean
absolutely.
Nothing. I mean, I say it with all the respect in the world. She is a badass in her own right. But I had a hard time understanding the friendship between Holly and Laura because I saw them put out a message that was so different.
Right.
And so I didn't really understand that. And getting to know Laura a little bit more just by email, and, you know, we've done a couple of Zoom interviews and just reading her book. I think she is such a beautiful woman. Like, just, she's got so much inside. So I can't wait to hear the interview, but I'm looking forward to see what made her sink. She's doing incredible work right now with,
I agree. Yeah.
And with putting out a real vulnerable, beautiful message. Yeah.
She's, you know, like, and even Ruby Warrington, like when I, you know, like after I interviewed her, like I started seeing her take, like, because she and I really, like, that is an amazing interview, I think. The one with, like if like that's one that is stellar. And I've watched her since that interview, like, you know, come out and really talk about some stuff that we hinted at, you know, like how she, you know, used to straighten her hair and how her looks. Cause I was like, when I ask about like, well, what else are you addicted to? Like we talked about social media, we talked about, and then like, and not that she wasn't taking a break from there anyway, but it was like, she is now facing it
Oh,
and like going, like stepping away from social media and still getting support. So she's like trusting herself and like just
is that
watching her do that. What's
is that
that?
her thing? I don't know a lot about her.
Okay. Well, I mean, she's a writer, and
Okay.
so social media was a big aspect. And then in our interview, she even questioned like, do I need social media to be a writer? Well, if you ask any publisher, yes, but I want to be able to step away from that, right? And so to see like since our interview, not again, I'm not trying to take credit for anything. I'm just saying like having watched her,
Yeah,
like it was great to one be at a point of change and then watch her kind of take
that's
those steps,
awesome.
you
I
know.
love that. I mean, and again, it's very kind of you to, it's very humble and sweet of you to say, I'm not taking credit, but hey, you're giving people that voice. You're giving people, you're shining the limelight on people, not necessarily in the limelight as in like, look, there you are, but like inside,
Right.
to go inside, to dig deeper, to get real, to get honest, to ask the hard questions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the people that have made me grow the most are the people that didn't give me the answers. It's just they asked the hard questions. Again, back to, are you done?
Right.
Why do you go back to him? And all of a sudden you're like, it makes no sense, does it? And then you realize, oh, look, that's an addiction. I do it and it has consequences and they're negative and I still do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
Yep.
those hard questions are the ones that allow people to, well, either run away or show up. And you
Right.
make people show up. And so,
And I just did a really nice interview with this guy, and we don't have to just talk about me. It's just constantly on the topic. But um, so what I'm looking at is we talked about like not caring, and this place of really lovingly not caring, and Nathan Seiler from Portraiture NYC on Instagram. He's got 7 years, I think, now, and he has a baby. And we were talking about like, how do you not care about what your baby's going through? And he's like, well, when I put him on the ground and he's uncomfortable, but he's got to learn to crawl, I can sit back while he's looking at me asking for help, and I can just let him be there.
yeah.
Like what a beautiful message, right? Like it's not that you're not caring, but you don't care that they're uncomfortable. You have to not care,
Yeah.
and like I'm even like almost like I'm getting emotional just thinking about this idea of like how important it is to just not care to a certain extent. It's not that you're not loving them, but like you can't care about their choices. You can't care about their, when I go in and talk to IOP programs, intensive outpatient programs,
You don't have to tell me what it means.
yeah, I utilize a lot of like stuff like that. So sometimes I have to
Yeah,
just go back.
I know.
I'm really happy about this, by the way, so far.
Oh, it's awesome.
Just
Oh,
not done yet, but we're coming along.
I
Um,
like it.
I'm gonna
That's
mail
all.
this to you, so you're gonna have to give me your address and stuff. Not now, but like you can
You should
text me.
bring it.
Um,
You should bring it, and we can go and
oh
explore Dallas.
yeah,
Yes.
after I
After this
will
whole thing,
if you're inviting me, I'm coming.
I am inviting you.
Oh well.
Spend some time here.
I got my calendar. We can as
As
soon
soon
as
as
soon as we open up.
coronavirus is gone, we need to
Yeah.
plan. You can come and spend a
Oh
weekend.
yeah.
I would love
Oh,
that.
I will. Yeah, I will do that. Yes, ma'am.
Put it there. Put it there. Hey,
No, bye-bye.
there we go. We're doing it. All right.
So when I talk to IOP programs, I always say the first thing I want you all to know is I don't care about your sobriety. And everybody understands what I mean in that group, because they hear all the time from their counselors how much their counselors care about their sobriety. And they go back to their rooms, and I'm sure they doubt that, because they don't feel their own love, so they can't feel love from others. When I go in and I tell them I don't care about your sobriety, and then I can talk to them honestly about the fact that that needs to be their job.
Right.
They realize how much I actually care, because I'm being honest with them. You know, it's not that I don't care about your life. I do, but that's your job. I can't do anything about your sobriety.
Right.
If I made it, and everybody, we all know this, right? We all know that if I care about your sobriety, your slipping up controls me. Right? I know how to manipulate you if my sobriety is, and that's why it's really important to have a conversation of what it means to lovingly not care.
Yeah.
You know, I want to, like, what's that?
I said, and that's part of, like, even in the family context, you know, the Al-Anon, and just, hey, yeah, my coach always says you need to remember to let people have their own experience. Like, don't rob them of their own experience. Like that example of the baby, right? That's everything. This morning, last night, my son went out to grab something from a friend of his. We've been really isolating and super good about not leaving the house, but last night he did a quick run. And we came back, he parked. We live in an apartment that has assigned parkings for certain people that pay the reserved parking spot. And then the rest is free for, you know, so long as you have the sticker, you can park in here. And unbeknownst to me, because it was late, he parked in a reserved spot. So this morning, he had forgotten his sunglasses and he was going to go out on the terrace. So he went to the car to get his glasses, and the car wasn't there. And so he came back and said, these, you know, fuckers took away my car. And I was like, wait, what? How? What?
Why? What? Yeah.
Yeah, what? And so, well, I left it, and he told me I left it in a reserved spot and these fuckers towed it. And I'm like,
exactly.
And so I was very silent, and I was pissed because I knew that it had been towed. I knew that the chance of the car being wrecked or damaged, I know that my son leaves it with, you know, the wheels like that and the handbrake on, because in his head, yeah. So I was like, oh shit. And I knew I was supposed to launch a course today that was going to take at least 4 hours of social media time this morning. I knew that was going out the window, and it's about $170 to get it out of the towing place. And so for all of the,
at least, right?
Yeah, easy. And so because I've been towed before here when I didn't have a parking sticker, just because my license plate, new car, whatever. So I knew the drill, and I knew how scary and expensive it was. And I was so angry. And that's where recovery came in, right? When you're wanting to lose your shit and something difficult is happening, and you are so wired really to go back to the old reactions. I mean, I spent, you know, more than half of my life having, you know, instinctive, awful reactions to everything.
Right.
And so I got really silent, and I said, okay, this actually was your fault. So there's no room for those fuckers here. And I want you to be very silent and think about that, because while I'm not okay with what happened, I'm even worse. Like, I'm not okay with the fact that you're not seeing that this is your fault.
And you're playing a victim, right? Like, fuck off. I got to sit here and listen to you play a victim, and you're going to expect me To play along with your little game?
And so I said, so when you are ready to speak to me from a place of ownership, then I can extend you some compassion. But until you don't
Girl.
even.
Ugh.
Don't fucking even.
So much love.
Yeah. And I was like, go walk the dog. And so he came back. And when he came back, he was like, all right, I'm so sorry, I totally fucked up. What comes next? And I'm like, okay, now we can
move forward, right?
And I mean, I have to say a little bit like your friend with the baby, you know, I knew that even if the car had a problem, I mean, we have insurance, I knew that it wasn't going to be a massive, horrible, but I kind of didn't really want to give him the relief. I wanted him to kind of feel the weight of what the consequence could be. And I was like, and you're going to figure out how to pay me that money.
Right.
Like, of course. So all the drive over there, he even tried to put music, and I was like, nope. Because I didn't want him to just have the, you know, like, you're going to sit with the discomfort.
That's right.
Yeah. And I'm not going to be that
good mom.
Yeah. I wasn't going to lose my shit, but I wasn't going to, you know, and it wasn't until we got there and he was inside of the car and the car was driving well and everything that he just kind of let the air out. And that's when he was like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. And in that moment, I just kind of went, oh, thank God. Everything.
Yeah. Right.
But part of my instinct was, even in that moment of discomfort, I thought, oh, come on, cut the kid a break. I'm sure he's suffering. Like, tell him it's not a big deal, even if blah, blah. And I'm like, no. Now it's a car. The bad decision of arrogantly parking in a reserved spot landed us in this consequence. But that thought process is the one that I addressed later.
Right.
It was like, right now it was a car. But this idea that you can arrogantly be above some permit or somebody else or the law or whatever, like, I'm all for you having a healthy sense of self and a self-esteem that tells you that you're special because I raised you like that, and good for you. I mean, you even come from a different country. That was part of the survival toolkit that you needed when you got here, right?
Right.
But from there to thinking that you arrogantly can do this instead of, you know, the right thing. No, like, hard no. So now I need to figure out how to have him create that income, or actually he will have to figure out how to create that income from his computer.
Right.
So he can pay it back to me. So we'll see. He'll be creative.
Desperation does yield results.
Well, but you know, if I challenge him, he's going to be like starting a porn site from his bedroom. He's going to be like, look, ladies, I'm rich. He can't be creative. No, I told him that tomorrow he needed to sit his ass down and do an art project that I've been asking him to do for me. And it was an optional thing, but now he's going to have to sit down. Yeah. It's not optional anymore.
It's no longer optional.
No longer optional.
Well, what's the project, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I have a 30-day meditation course. It's really cool because they're meditations, but they're coaching meditations. So they're not like, relax and take deep breath. Yes, we're going to start by breathing and getting our shit together. But it's true coaching. Like, I'm going to ask you the hard questions and see if you're really, really romancing your addiction and just focusing on the addiction instead of your transformation. By the end of it, the hope is that someone really shifts, or at least starts to question, so that they can start to phase their recovery in a different way. And so one of the projects that I have for this next year is to create merchandise that speaks to the messaging. And one of the things that I have loved purchasing from other teachers are little mantra cards that I can use in my morning meditation, or through the day as I go. And so I want to create mantra cards that support each of these coaching meditations. So rather than having them print something on their own, that they can get the card deck. And so art for it, my son is a good artist. So I want him to create art for each of the mantra cards.
Oh, man.
That's the art project.
That's a good one.
Right? Yeah.
How many is that?
Well, I only have 30, but
that's still a lot.
That's still right.
You're gonna be working for a minute.
Yeah. But I mean, I asked him to do this like 6 months ago, baby. And he's just been like, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. And there's always
one a week we'd be done by now.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know, sometimes, especially with teenagers, they think that what you're asking them is just like a suggestion underneath all of their priorities. And to be frank, he helps me so much. I mean, every day he cooks for me. He cooks dinner. I don't even have to.
You got it made, girl.
I know. And he's a great chef. Like 2 days ago, he spent probably an hour making steaks because he did like what did he call it? An backwards sear process. I don't know. He put the steak in the oven with an olive oil and basil pan underneath. And then he came up and seared it with like all sorts of different peppers. But the process actually made for the juiciest steak I've had and he, you know, has his chef knife and he cuts it to perfection. I mean, he's adorable. So I can't complain. And like this morning was a different experience for me because I'm one of those lucky parents that don't normally have to face headaches with their child. I just have the one. And
I just have the one.
And I mean, I have so much compassion for so many parents that are trapped in their homes right now with children that they never really got to know. And now they're getting to know, and they're like, but you're not children, you're a monster.
Right.
And I mean, different ages pose, I'm sure, different challenges, you know. I wonder just as how many babies are going to be in the world in 9 months because people are just, you know, having sex like crazy, I'm sure. I also wonder how many divorces are going to happen right after this.
Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting, you know, like we're going to see quite a bit happen, I think.
Yeah.
This is going to be an interesting time, like to watch what happens to people as they come out of this. Yeah. You know, it's I thought about like, you know, being forced in a space with somebody for such a long time, and you have to make it work, right?
Right.
So maybe like it's going to bring people together. You know, like there are people who are determined to be apart, of course. But like I like to think of the aspect of like you and I are stuck here. Let's work at making it work.
Yeah, but you're talking from the perspective of someone who has an emotional maturity.
I understand. I understand. The thing is not being able to go out may curtail a lot of extraneous relationships, and then the conversation of those relationships can come up. Again, that is emotional maturity to a hill. Emotional
maturity, and I think even if one partner has some of that, then it can be the seed that grows and gets cultivated. But
if only one partner has it,
okay, but let's say of the two people, one has it and the other one has willingness, then there's possibility. If the two have it, fantastic, but chances of that happening are rare, right? I mean, right. But the majority, and again, back to us in recovery, we have felt like this before. I mean, I've been kidnapped. And so when, you know the story. So when all of this started and people are like, I can't leave my house. And I'm like, dude, the fuck are you screaming about?
Right.
I mean, like, I'm not saying that this is normal, but, and granted, I'm lucky. I'm in here with a human that I really like in
Yeah.
an apartment that I like with, you know, creative resources for me to never even imagine being bored at home because I get a chance to create. But yeah, this is also so light compared to other shit that I've gone through. I'm sure that you as well.
Right. Yeah.
You've
This
been
is
in similar situations, but there are so many people, even again, back to the original subject, couples that are just beyond themselves. I get so many DMs now, which I'm grateful for because I really enjoy the chance to connect with someone one-on-one. But so many of them are like, I'm going out of my mind with boredom. And that is such a, I mean, I have a lot of compassion, but at the same time, it's so beyond
foreign.
what I could even
Yeah.
understand. Like,
Why? Like
what
this.
do you mean you're bored? And why would you reach out to me about boredom? About,
Right.
like, what do you want me to tell you? Do a jigsaw puzzle? Because if you're bored, then that just told me that, like, what your brain, like, I don't know, is struggling with right now. But
Right.
I don't know. I can imagine two people inside, each for themselves, caring only about themselves, and that spells disaster. Then you put two people that are willing to be a team and
Right.
see the possibility and even the opportunity to explore new things, to learn new things, to watch new movies, to have deeper discussions, or to learn to be in silence, and learn how to help the other person, or to have boundaries, whatever the fuck. But,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I have like just being in quiet space, right, is something that we don't get to practice. And I look at all of this, and so I'm a believer that the universe that I'm experiencing, I created, and the universe that you're experiencing, you created. And so I ask myself, how did I create this? And I said, well, for years, I've been asking people to go inside. And I'm like, now we're being forced to, right? And I'm like, I've created that. Now I've created that for me, right?
Right.
And everybody else, how they see it, again, that's a reflection of what you're creating. So, like how we see, where we get triggered, how we do those things, and how we push ourselves to grow just tells us more about ourselves. Because all of this is created through me. Now, there is real things going on out there.
Sure.
But the way that I perceive it,
right,
is my creation.
Yeah, for sure.
So how am I perceiving it?
Yeah. See, you're comfortable and you love who you are. Like,
oh yes, I'm not saying that as everybody. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's part of what I recognize is my blessing as well, right? I mean, I remember where being in a room by myself was the most terrifying proposal ever.
También, sí.
I mean, and give me a bottle of vodka on the side and, I'm dead.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was right there, like, and one of the things that, it's difficult to kind of sometimes admit is I can't relate anymore. Like there's a lot of that I can't relate to. Like I can't relate to not being able to tell somebody I don't drink.
Right.
It's been too long. I can't even imagine being a person that was hard for.
Right.
I'm sure it was hard for me at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it.
Well, you don't remember it, but you talk to enough people. And I think that that's the beauty of being in community, right? Where all of a sudden, like I bet that you experience this as well with working with people that are even in their beginning stages, or even with the counselors that are working. But like me going back to work with clients or students, or even to give meetings here and there, and you hear what comes out of people's mouths, and you get taken right back there where you were saying the same things. I don't know if that ever happens to you. Like I get sometimes I forget, just like you say, I forget, right? But then you work with a newcomer and you hear the same doubts that you have. And even it's so clear for you, at least for me, I remember when that was, I mean, even if it's wildly illogical for us now, like,
Right.
I remember being one of my first meetings and I literally said, look, I get that you guys have made this weird commitment that you're never going to drink again. And I respect your position, but I am actually here to learn to have a good relationship with alcohol again. I mean, I want to go back and hug the me that I was then, because I mean, that's
Cute.
I know, that's so sweet. You cute little thing. Naive girl. I mean, that's ultimately the fantasy and delusion of every alcoholic, right? Every one of us. And so now when I hear people say it, I'm like, oh, you're so one of us. You're so
in my work, there is I want to find somebody that can talk to me about how they have reintroduced drinking into their life in a healthy way. And I almost had somebody, but then I interviewed him and the interview had to go to shit because I caught him every step. Every step I was like, can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? And in my interview, I was like, I'm doubtful but hopeful, right? I'm like, I hope you can be this person, because I want to express that this is possible, but the depth that you have to go is super deep.
To really prove your case.
Right.
Way that makes sense.
Right. And if you can't, and he had a really sound argument like for why it's okay, and it is okay because of course a slice of birthday cake is not healthy, but you enjoy it with friends, and I was like, okay, great, so that's why you drink. Now let's go into your drinking. Right. And he couldn't, it didn't hold up. It just didn't hold up. And I was just like, okay, well, if you have birthday cake 3 times a year, I get that. That's about how many times I might have birthday cake. Maybe 6 at the most.
Yeah.
But you're drinking every couple weeks.
Yeah.
Now we're not talking birthday cake anymore. And so we had to kind of really, like, we went back and forth and I listened to it. I went to edit it and I was just like, nope, you can't do it.
Yeah. So that relationship that I've mentioned to you that I was really bound by and stuck in for so long. He and I met sober, and then we got married. And in my marriage, I lost my sobriety, which in turn made him lose his sobriety.
Didn't make him lose his.
Oh, no, agreed. Sorry. He said that it made him. No, agreed.
Okay, good. I just don't want to go in. I don't want to start lying now. Like, we have such a good rapport.
No. But he used it as a weapon, right? He was like,
of course.
You made me. Like I say it with, and I remember that was my thing, was like, no, I didn't. This is not me. I'm drinking and you're drinking, and we are each in each of us has to own this.
Right.
But he used it as a weapon, and then he ended up actually leaving. Well, when we got back together, we didn't get married again, but we continued in a relationship after that. Yeah. His theory was, look,
God,
I really don't drink like you. I've managed to reintegrate alcohol where it's just, here and there. And I really wanted the relationship to work out. But so the part of me that knew addiction and understood the illness was like, yeah, that's bullshit.
Right.
And the part of me that wanted to be compassionate and curious about this human that I wanted to reestablish a connection with, that I wanted to respect in order to at least listen and not judge. That part was asking questions like, what does this look like? And for a while, with this idea of, look, I love you enough not to care. You do your thing, I do my thing. So long as you're happy and I do my thing and I'm happy, and we can find a place to connect where your actions don't go linked to mine and vice versa, then great. And so that's how we were in relationship for a couple of years. But at some point I had to open my eyes and really see that what he kept with words saying worked for him really didn't. And when I called him on it, because he really does drink in a very moderate way for an alcoholic, which I never thought I would say that, but it's true. Right. Like I would wake up and drink champagne with orange juice in my Yeti cup on my way to work, stopping at a little deli that had coffee, but instead I bought the little bottle of mimosa, you know, of champagne, right? And it was orange juice in my Yeti. And at lunch, I would have to go drink in order to do the rest half of the day. And
just maintain.
Just to glide, baby, just to glide. And so my drinking looks different than his drinking. Yeah. But the consequences of the shame and the remorse and the regret and the inability to show up for yourself and to be accountable to what you said you were going to do. I mean, all of those things that go way deeper than just how many did you drink and how often did you drink it. That's the part that kept falling apart. Like it just didn't hold water, just like you said.
Right. You can't justify it, right?
No. And like even at the end of that relationship, I walked into his bathroom and there was he used to be a big pill head, and even throughout the drinking, he kept saying, no, I would never go back and ever touch that, because that is a hole I could not ever crawl out from. And so lo and behold, in one of the last times that I went to his apartment, I go to his bathroom and there's, Vicodin on the shelf. And I remember I looked at it and I felt a stab in my heart, and where you're like, and you take a deep breath and you just kind of, I went outside and I said, look, because I love you and because I know that I can say this without, any other intent, I'm just going to ask you honestly, what's up with that? Mm-hmm. And he gave me a story about how his back and how there were only 10 pills, and the fact that he only had used 2 in the month that he'd had it should show me that it honestly was for his back. And
fuck, girl. I'm sorry.
No, and I remember I just looked at him and I said, okay, I just want to remind you that if you found a bottle of tequila between my dressers, you would be concerned. And if I told you, look, I just took 1 swig in the last month, so, you shouldn't be concerned, you still would be concerned, because you know my brain and you care about my heart and about my life.
Right.
And so I'm going to ask you one time and one time alone, do you want me to take that pill bottle with me? Since you obviously already navigated that pain that it was given to you for. So can I take the pills? And he was like, no, I'm perfectly fine leaving them there. And you need to let me manage that. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay. And I knew where he was mentally, spiritually. And I knew that there was nothing that I could do to reach him. And I also knew that there was nothing that I could do to make this fit in my life in a way that was healthy, because we were just in different places. And I was like, oh. So I laugh about you, with that story, because I'm like, oh, I've been so much in that place where people try to convince me the way that I guess at some points I wanted to convince people of things.
And we want to convince ourselves, like, that's what it comes down to, right? Like we want like, and the reason, like, I don't want that person. I don't want to find a I don't want to find a person that can drink moderately because I want to prove people can drink moderately.
Mm.
What I want to do is I want to find that person because everything is possible.
Mm. Okay.
I want to find that person because I don't believe all doors, like I don't like I know that it's possible for me to drink again.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that it's going to be healthy.
Right.
And I don't want to do it. So
Right.
I am currently in a place in my recovery where it's like, I don't want that. It is not about like even when I get a craving for something,
Right.
I don't want it to the extent of that's easy for me not to have.
Right.
Because everything in my life, it's not like, oh, you can have a drink. It's like, yes, I don't want one.
Yeah, like you can, but what
Right.
would that do? And do you want to?
And for what purpose?
Yes. What are you proving? What are you doing?
Right.
And for me, like I actually went there. Like, remember when I realized it was like at this point in my recovery, that is exactly the phrase that I used at this point in my recovery, like with the baby 5 years that I had, but I thought it was a big ass chunk of time.
Right.
Surely I can drink normally. I mean, again, that just tells you where I was, right? Because you would never utter that phrase in your head or with your mouth.
Right.
You know? And yeah, so okay, so was your idea then? I want to kind of go back to
talk about it. Yeah.
Was your idea to say, look, everything is possible, or were you trying to disprove this idea that once someone drinks in a way that is, I guess, alcoholic, that they don't have the ability to moderate? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's not, again, it's not, I don't try to prove anything. What I want to do, what what I want to do is find somebody like if I can find somebody that does that, I want to be able to put them through those questions and then see the hard work that had to be done to get there.
Yeah.
Like, I want to
okay. I got it. So let me ask you. So for example,
I love your excitement.
because I don't know that I don't know that I'm still getting that could happen with substance. But it's interesting because my thing is also the toxic relationship, right? And at some point in time, and I still kind of want to, I want to meet someone who had a love addict, love avoidant, codependent, toxic relationship, and that did the work of recovery as a couple so that they could then become, a couple.
Okay, so
is it the same that you're thinking?
No, it's close. It's close. Okay. The reason that it's not the same is because you're dealing with two different people. And so in order to deal with two different people, you have to have two different, like in order for two people to ever align completely, that's impossible already.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the process. Like something that didn't function was dysfunctional because of their addiction patterns.
And then they made a healthy pattern out of it.
That was done, and then there was the ability to function without that addiction. So in my head, that's my unicorn. And so I'm asking if your unicorn.
It's very similar. It's very similar.
I like that we have similar unicorns.
Yeah. Because it's like, look, but again, I look at all addiction this way, because like being addicted to your phone doesn't mean that now you have to give your phone up.
Yeah.
Being addicted to relationship and having a sex love addict relationships, right? Like, doesn't mean you're never going to have a relationship again.
No, but that is a fear, though. I mean, when I started
of course, and it is talked about.
Addiction, I was like, what the fuck? Like I can go without wine, but, or people that have, you know, this, how do you say, dysfunctional eating disorders.
Right. You have to eat. Right. So this is that, like, that is like when you eat healthy, right? They say, okay, well, you know, like you're successfully dealing with your food addiction, even though you're partaking in food. Now you get alcoholics and you say you can never drink again. Well, let's take that a step back, because substance and how my brain reacts to my non-substance, even though it's food, like, is the same, right? Because I am giving myself endorphins and other sorts of chemicals and stuff, right? So I am addicted to substance, but now I have to have a healthy relationship, which means I have to be healthy. Right. And that was the line of questioning that I took this guy on. And he wasn't actually being healthy. Right. And that, again, that's the unicorn, right? For me, like that's the pinnacle, like that's the holy grail of like recovery, not because I want to tell people they can drink.
No, I understand. But I mean, it's funny because I mean, I'm being confronted with two feelings right now. Like I hear your unicorn, and there's a part of me that goes, yeah, but that invalidates my personal experience that if you are someone that has alcoholism, that has the addiction to alcohol, you just, I mean, you detonate this physical craving with just one drink, right? And so it can never, and it has like a mental obsession, and that cycle that other normal drinkers don't experience will be present, even if you're like carefully moderating. And
it's such a hard conversation.
Right. And but at the same token, I haven't given up hope that the unicorn, when it comes to the love addiction, and I have to keep hope, right? Because otherwise it would be hard for me to think that I'm at 45 still going to at some point, because, you know, I mean, the window of time is still, you know, 10 years or something, but I want to be in a relationship in the next 10 years. Like I don't want to be waiting, you know, and I don't want to start a relationship at 55, you know?
You'll have a lot of time on your hands in retirement, no?
Like I want to do it in the good years, not when I'm like, you know, I'm not sure that I'm up for the wild sex in the park. I want to have the wild sex in the park.
My guess is you'll have wild sex at 60, 70. So. Yeah.
Well, yes, sure. But not in a parking lot. I'm kidding. But you know, like I'd like to think that there is the possibility, like even if you enter a relationship, like there's not going to be a full alignment of two people that are, you know, so developed emotionally that all of a sudden, like there's got to be that work, right? Like,
well, like relationship is you show me and I show you, and I don't ask of you and you don't ask of me. And that's not how we understand relationships.
Yeah. Well, that's not how nobody, like we were just not programmed for that. That's one of the biggest gets that I had when I started like going down this. Oh my God, that's awesome. I love it.
So yeah, so there you are. I'll send you.
I have to take a video of it.
I'll send you a video. I'll definitely
showing it right now, or would you?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Let me take a picture and just send it out to you.
Okay, do that. That is cool. That is really cool. But yeah, just to kind of wrap up that thought is, you know, this idea that even earlier, I think I was gonna say this and I forgot. It was the, you know, you make me feel this. No, you don't make me feel anything. That whole Jerry Maguire, you complete me, just fucked so many generations. You know, it is not that way.
It's so messed up.
And it's not your responsibility to make me happy either.
That's right. and when we start relationships in this place of like, I want to make you happy because that makes me happy. It's like, fuck you, find your own way to be happy. Yeah. But like, we do need exchange, but like, I do this. It has nothing to do with happiness. It has nothing to do with,
Right.
all of that. It's so important to
Yeah,
understand you in a relationship.
it is. And like for me, like I imagine just because of how I am, like there is this beautiful, oh, I care about you. I want to make sure that you feel loved, that you feel supported, that you feel heard, that I do special things for you, but not at the expense of me, and not doing them expecting that to be your reply to me so that I can then be happy and or feel loved. Like that's where I got it all messed up in the
But
past.
that is why, right? That is why you want those things.
What do you mean?
You want them to feel special, or you want to do special because you do. Like those are places where you're like, I want to do this for me, but I don't have the worth to do it for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I need a relationship. I need a relationship so I can do for me those things that I don't feel worthy of.
Yeah, love addiction is really centered a lot in how other people make you feel valued. And even
Right.
if you don't like label yourself a love addict, I think that that is just a misconception.
That's
Just
relationship.
yeah,
Relationship.
but I mean, every fucking movie, every fucking song, everything that is written that we were fed from, the time we were like this high, tells you that somebody else needs to bring that into your world versus
Yep.
you bringing it into your own world and having ownership and being responsible. Yes.
Right. And that's the point. Like you have been told, and I look at it this way, and I don't know if we ever talked about this, and if I have, you can stop me, but when you're conceived, that is when you get touched, right? Touched with spirit, touched by God, whatever.
Right.
That is when you are perfect in every aspect. That is the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve, the whole thing. That is conception.
Right.
You separate into two cells, and when that happens, you start to be informed and fed by your mother, who is coming from a place of years of being less than that perfection.
Mm-hmm.
You are now being fed emotions. You are now being fed information and food and all sorts of chemicals and other things from your mother.
Mm-hmm.
You are now no longer God, right? Like you are God, but you don't believe you're God anymore because you have already taken in limits.
Right.
Your world is small now. Where it was the universe, now it's the universe within your mother.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you're born, and that chemical response continues because you just got revved up into building it. So if your mother is stressed and like emotional and like all of this, you're going to be born and you're going to be emotional and stressed and all this. If you're a twin and get separated, come back together in 30 years, you're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first 9 months of your life, you built an understanding of the world.
That's fascinating. I'm sure that there's a ton of studies of that. It makes sense. I've never really like dove into it.
Right. I don't read about this shit. I just look at the world and I say that's the truth,
Yeah.
And then like you said, you're fed by songs, you're fed by media, you're fed by your surroundings.
Yeah.
Do you like if religion is true, if any religion is true, then why are there different ones in different areas?
Yeah.
Right? I grew up in the United States. I'm either going to be Protestant, Roman Catholic. That's it.
Right.
If I grew up in New York, I might be Jewish as well. Right? Like if I grew up, in
it's so
religion doesn't have anything to do with a real belief system. You're just fed it because of your surroundings.
Yeah. When I started to dive into this whole love addiction and where does that fear of abandonment and why am I attracted to guys that don't want to have, really a commitment, and the more they push me, the more I'm like this. And, I had to get honest and see it, even if it didn't feel good,
Right.
and I started to read a lot about this mother abandonment that we feel from an early age. And every cell in me said, well, fuck no. My mom, I mean, I love my mom. We are so close. I never had that. And then I started to go deeper. And it turns out that this was something because I'm claustrophobic. You don't know this, but I can't get inside of an elevator. Like, I'm okay in an airplane, but it took work just when I was a kid to do it. Going inside of a bathroom in an airplane is hard for me. I still sometimes like have to test the lock several times, to make sure that it opens. But an elevator is just beyond me because I'm in there. I have no control. And so I had to kind of figure, like, what the fuck? Like, what? And I couldn't find a single trauma circumstance when I was a kid. Well, as it turns out, my mom had a really traumatic pregnancy. She just had a really, really hard, like, her mom had just died. My dad and her never had a great relationship. I mean, I'm sure that she just
went being in small areas, small dark areas, boom, out the fucking window.
Yeah. And so isn't it funny that, I mean, you're saying something that resonates so hard for me now, because this abandonment issue that I have, which again stems from the mother, was from the fact that in there for 9 months, I felt disconnected. I felt alone. I felt terrified. I felt abandoned. And then even later, my parents were so dysfunctional that even if my mom was present, I just was never really like fully
And that's how you learned while you were developing the world was. You just expected it to be that way. And now you come out in the world and subconsciously you're lying to yourself over and over and over and over again.
And then I see my child who's 19 and is taking courses from home, and they are teaching him shit like statistics. And even though he's not in a math career, by the way, or anything that relates, and they're teaching him, like, they gave him some Popol Vuh, which is like Mayan story class. And I mean, I get that we all have to go through all of it, and the Iliad, and I mean, it's just part of being culturally well-rounded and stuff. But it astounds me that the curriculum of what we're teaching our humans still is of that level and not of the level of the conversations that you and I are having. How do you relate? How do you self-soothe? How do you hold space for others? How do you learn to hold compassion? All of the mindfulness tools. It's just mind-blowing.
None of what we're talking about has value in a world that is quantifiable.
No. And that's why recovery is such a blessing. And that's really part of what, makes me so passionate. And I know that you feel the same way about publicly talking about our journeys, because people think that addiction is about not doing something. And for me, addiction is only the door into a life where you get a chance to explore the higher concepts. Yeah, exactly. And so a part of me, like, even like right now, obviously it's completely stopped and I've been really working on my healing, but like, even the idea of meeting someone right now is almost like just not welcome for me.
Right.
Because, like, I feel like there's still healing to be done, but also it's, I almost want to say, you need to be someone who's had all the shit in the world happen to them and then come transformed on the other side.
Right.
So we can speak the same language. And obviously that's not it, right?
Right.
But it, makes you kind of be able to connect with people that only, at least if nothing else, have the curiosity to explore their life. Because if they're just moving in that quantifiable world that you're talking about, and that's all they see, and it's the March Madness and the this and the that, and that's all their world, those are the people that are going bananas inside of
they have nothing. They've lost everything. And the thing is that the fact that we lost everything and gained ourselves, we're still here.
Oh, I fucking love you. Okay, you need to send me that nugget. Show it to me again.
Oh,
Show
yeah. I sent you a text.
Oh, you did. Oh, that's so cool.
So I still got to get, I mean, we're all on lockdown, so I still got to get envelopes, but I'll be sending this out. Do me a favor, respond to that text with your address.
I will. I will.
And then we will start talking about when I'll come and visit.
I love it. Yes. Yes, for sure. Okay. Now, question.
Shoot.
I know you're going to send this to me, but do you want me to wait and not show this on social media until
No, I'll show it on social.
Oh, you will. Okay. Okay, great.
Well, but you can as well. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm cool with you doing it.
Because I normally wait until someone puts out their stuff and then
Not at all. Like you can put that out tonight. I won't put it out tonight because I only have a couple seconds left of, like, I have my Instagram on a timer, so I don't overdo it. So
you're wise. Look
yeah.
at
So, but my timer is an hour. So like,
I will probably put it out tomorrow so that it has more.
And well, I mean, if you put it out tomorrow, that'd be great. I do my interview with Nikki tomorrow. I post that. So if you could mention that in there, that'd be wonderful.
Absolutely. Tomorrow it drops?
Yeah, it'll drop tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever it is.
Oh, cool. There you go. That's what we're doing. Okay, we got a plan.
Love you so much.
Thank you. I'm so honored. I fucking love it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.